we'll get her going here then if you're all ready.
Whenever you are, man. Your show.
Great. So first off, thanks everyone for coming out and hanging out with us here tonight. And also thank you, Dr. Premer, for coming out. I know you just had a rough afternoon playing a bit of golf, but we appreciate you coming on. So for everyone who doesn't know Dr. Premer or Taylor, he's one of the doctors at Winchester Spine and Sport. He's been there close to 2 years now, I think.
Yep.
He's an absolute stud at what he does, and he works a lot with high school athletes. That's one of his big ways to kind of get out there, show face, and get a lot of new patients in. So he's got a lot to learn from. So I think it'll definitely be a good talk. So listen up. He's got a lot to share. But yeah, Taylor, take it away.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Grant. Thanks, Sam, Kara, all the Logan MPI reps. Thanks for having me. So tonight will be a little bit informal. So we saw patients this morning, then we went right into a little golf tournament for Habitat for Humanity. So we had a good time. We won. So with no help from Grant, the other Grant, obviously, in his own words, I thought he helped us a ton. But anyway, but with that, yeah. So tonight, I just have a couple slides. I thought a little bit of a structure would be good for the first part, and then at the end, I'll open it for questions if you have any. As always, I went a little bit rogue. You know, they gave me a little bit of a way of what they wanted me to talk about, but I kind of went a little bit rogue. So this might not answer all your questions, but I think some of the things are important, and hopefully you learn from some of the mistakes I made, and you can kind of follow in with that. So anyway, the title here is Marketing, Find Your Audience and Show Up. So the theme that you're going to find here is show up. So I don't have a lot of gold medals in this life. I'm definitely not the smartest person in the world. I like to say I'm decent with my hands, but the one thing that I guarantee that I will do more than anybody else is show up more and be there more. And I think that if you can take one thing away from me, it's that. And if you want to really succeed in this profession, I think that it's something that you can really take away. It's just show up. Half the time, we're going to talk about high schools and high school athletics, and half the time they just need someone to show up. They just want someone to be there that can answer their questions, that can give them some insight into what this medical profession and what this world really is. And so that's kind of the theme, and that's really what's gotten me to this point, whether that's been through school, whether that's been through my career. It's showing up and being, hopefully a decent person. So anyway, let's roll on. So for those of you that don't know me, so my name is Taylor Premer. So I grew up in a town in the middle of Nebraska, so almost on the Kansas border. My town was 800 people. I graduated with 30 people, and I never really belonged. I was always destined for a little bit bigger school, bigger everything. And so that was always a part of me. But the one thing that I did take away from me is that my parents owned a body shop, and my grandparents owned a vet clinic. My grandpa was a veterinarian, and so they shared a parking lot. And so that was my summer vacation, was going back and forth between those two. And without me really knowing it, I absorbed a lot about what it meant to live in a small community and what it meant to really market internally, and to how to connect with people and how to be a resource for people. And so that's the big thing. And my grandpa was my biggest influence, and seeing him work with animals is what made me want to work with people. As crazy as that sounds, but he was a really, really good human being. And so that's someone that I always sought after to be. And so that's what got me into chiropractic. Is I initially wanted to be a cardiac surgeon. I shadowed a couple of heart surgeries. I loved the surgical suite, but I hated the hospital. And so unfortunately, you can't have one without the other. And so I said, nope, not going to do that. My now wife and I started changing our diet and thinking about the things we put in our body and stuff like that. And I got really deep in nutrition, and that kind of basically led me down the chiropractic route. And so that's why I'm here. The easiest way to get a hold of me, it's not on here. It has my email, but honestly, text is the best way to get a hold of me. And I'll give that at the end. So no worries. We'll get that at the end, but follow me on Instagram. My handles on Twitter and Instagram are both just Dr. Taylor Premer, all in one word. I post my Tuesdays with Taylor and some other things, a lot of coffee on there, which takes me to my next slide. So the things that I really care about in life is two mainly. well, three to be honest with you. Traveling, which me and my wife love to do, and then coffee, and then wine is starting to become one of my sessions and things that I really enjoy in life. So if you follow me on Instagram, I'm always posting some new coffee shop or some new coffee that I'm trying. I've been lucky, Gavin is one that he was just staying with me for DNS weightlifting, and he gave me a new bag from Colorado, which is amazing. But I'm always trying some type of new coffee and things like that. But anyway, my wife and I just got married in Hawaii in January. We just missed COVID. I've been lucky enough to go to the Masters, some other golf tournaments, and then we've gone to Iceland, and golf is another one of my obsessions. So those are the things I really care about in life. And so not that I don't necessarily care about chiropractic and being a clinician stuff, but those are all the things that I do to kind of get away and who I am as a person, really. So with that, I'd be renounced to not talk about, every single time I talk, I include these two next slides in my talks, because I really honestly am the luckiest person alive. You can't show me a more lucky person that I've been around some of the best people in this profession and in this world. And I continue to be able to meet these people that are absolutely insane. And so Isaac Newton's, if I've seen further, it's been on the Sand and the Shoulder Giants. And so, we have a little continuing education company called Gestalt Education. And so with that, we're able to, I'm able to go to dinner and drink too much wine and, learn from some of literally the best in the profession, whether that's Scott Herbawi with MDT, Craig Liebenson, Greg Cook, Corey Campbell, Michael Shacklock, and then Marcella, that's just the front row there. And then, you go down to Greg Dorr with functional soft tissue, Mark King, Robert Lardner. I've been able to sit with the best in the world and bounce ideas off of them. So I'm truly blessed. I'm truly lucky. And so none of the things that I'm saying are original ideas or original thoughts or anything like that. It's just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so with that, I'm truly blessed to be in this profession and to learn from the coolest people in the world. So, which if you can find a good mentor and you can find mentors that are willing to take the time to teach you the route and stuff like that, I mean, that is literally invaluable. So that takes me to my next slide, which is always in my presentations as well. And that's my why. And so, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about marketing. We're going to talk a little bit about some of my mistakes and some of the things that have really helped me now and are hopefully going to help me in the future. And they all revolve around this. And so my why is self-explanatory. I'm not going to read it to you. You can do it. But the last line is really why I'm doing this today. And that's to redefine what's possible for the present day chiropractor and to influence progress in the profession. And the reason I put that in and why it ties in so nicely with what we're going to talk about tonight is that having an influence on high school athletics and junior high, even young athletic sports in general, we have such a service to give to this population and such a service to really make an impact on not only them, but their lives going forward, that I think it's something that is not always the easiest. It's not always the most lucrative, and it's not always the most, flashy, but it's 100% the one that gives me the most fullness in my heart and allows me to sleep really well at night and really makes me proud of what this profession is and what it can do. And so with that, let's get into it. So I have two real affiliations as far as high school goes. If COVID wouldn't hit, I would have had a third one up there, but that's in the works. But regardless, so Troy Buchanan High School is the high school in Troy. It's a 6A school here in Troy, or in Missouri, and so it's one of the biggest in St. Louis, which may be surprising to some of you, but it's a very large school. It's very well funded, and they have some incredible community there. What we're blessed with is some of the best facilities that I've ever personally seen. I mean, I think back to what my high school facilities looked like, and it made it, I mean, it's insane. Some of you have been shadowed with me and gone to the weight room and seen some of the facilities, and it's just, it's really amazing. I have a training room that I get to sit in with an athletic trainer. Twice a week, I go up to the high school in Troy and see patients up there and basically help the athletic trainer that is actually employed partially through us at Winchester Spine and Sport and partially through the school. And so Brett has had the contract at Troy for the last It's been a while. I honestly don't even know the year, but regardless. So what that means is that him and another physical therapy clinic here in town help support the athletic trainer. He's a ATC, and help support his salary. And so that's pretty important for a school like Troy that even though they're well funded, they maybe wouldn't be able to afford that on their own. And so to have a full-time athletic trainer on staff to be at all the practices, to be at the games, to be there is extremely important and extremely beneficial to them. And then I just try to assist him along the way. And so we'll kind of get in that in a little bit. But then the other spectrum of that is a little bit more of my hometown, which is Silex. So Silex is about 20 miles north of Troy, a little tiny town. They graduate 50 people per class, one of the smaller schools in Missouri, and they have nothing. So they have no chiropractors in their town. They have no physical therapy. They basically were the closest that they have. And so I was lucky enough to treat quite a few of these kids and get a spot there by getting to know the superintendent. And so I go up there twice a month, so every other Wednesday. And that's a little bit different feel than Troy. At Troy, it's lots of different opinions, lots of different people weighing in on what the athlete should do. Whereas Silex, it's basically me. It's me and the parents. And so I'm able to have a lot bigger influence on that. Sometimes it's difficult. It's a little bit more of a lower income place, but it also is a way for me to kind of give back and to treat some of the kids that maybe wouldn't be able to afford our services or don't have the access to our services that other people do. Oh, Kara, I'm looking at your pup back there. Hi. Anyway, so with that, we really love Silex, and they feed a lot of people into our office. So anyway, let's talk about my early mistakes with marketing before I get into high schools and what that really means. So what we're all going to do, and I told myself I wasn't going to do this, but I still fell in the trap. And that's number one, sitting in my office waiting for patients. So when I joined Winchester Spine and Sport, I kind of, not wrongly, but I had the assumption that, wow, this is a big booming clinic. I'm going to walk in and there's going to be patients on my schedule. I'm going to get back in there. I'm going to get my feet wet with patients. I'm going to see all these people. And not that wasn't the reality. It was just, it wasn't the patients that I really truly wanted to see. It was walk-ins that maybe didn't know what we did, or weren't very athletic, or whatever it might have been. To be honest with you, they just weren't the population that I really was fulfilled with. However, I said, you know what, it's fine. I came here for a reason. I stuck it out. And so for the first 6 months, this is my strategy. I would wait in my office. I took control of the office Facebook, their Instagram, their Twitter. I went to every Chamber of Commerce event. I went to every fundraiser. I played in every golf tournament. I went to Rotary Club. I went to Veterans Coffee Talk. I went to every single thing that was happening in Troy. I thought that, you know what, if I just met every single person in Troy, Missouri, they're going to be knocking down my door. There's no way that people aren't going to be lining up. And it did. I had patients come in, but again, they weren't necessarily the patients that I really was fulfilled with, the ones that really made me get out of bed every morning. Some of the more chronic pain stuff, the people that have been everywhere that were just like, you know what, this kid's got a lot of energy. Maybe I'll give him a shot. Not that those patients aren't important and that I don't love working with them. It left me drained. It made me not too fulfilled at the end of the day. So then the last mistake that I made is I thought that I needed to see all patients before I saw my patients. In other words, I wanted to make mistakes with Brett's patients, the ones that he had marketed, the ones that he had got in the office, before I made mistakes with the ones that I really cared about. And that was such a fallacy of mine, and such a kind of a toxic way of thinking, because it didn't really hold me accountable for my marketing. And to be honest with you, it made me stretch thin. It made me just kind of, here I am, let's go. Let's figure out what I am. And so I never really took the time to figure out who I wanted to treat. And it took me a really long time to really come to that conclusion. And this is something that we're all going to do. We're all going to fall into that trap of sitting in the office waiting for patients to walk in the door, because guess what? We are the best in the world. We have skills that people don't even realize that they need, that we know that they need, but they really don't understand what we do. They don't really care about whether or not I'm cert MDT, or whether or not you've taken 15 DNS courses, or whether you can dry needle, or whether you're the best adjuster in your grade. They don't know what the heck that is. They just have back pain. They don't give a shit. Like they frankly just want to feel better. So anyway, it took a breaking point. So for 6 months, this is my strategy, guys. And I'm the first person to tell you that this was 100% wrong, right? So for 6 months, I was that, and this is basically me. So day one, I showed up. I was freaking Luke Skywalker. I was the best in the world. I was ready to take on everything. I was spunky. I had enough energy to do anything. And by 6 months, I was drugged. I mean, I was just beat down. Frankly, I was 100% beat down, and I thought I'd never be to that point in my career, but it happened. I was there. I looked like Luke Skywalker on the base in the last movie. So, and I don't know if there's any Star Wars fans, probably not. You're all thinking I'm nerds at this point, but that's okay. Star Wars is my thing. So, but anyway, this is me. This is me 6 months in, and I was like, man, oh man, what am I doing here in Troy? What am I wasting my time on? Am I actually good? I'm having all these self-doubt thoughts. Like, why are people aren't coming in to see me? Why are they not sticking around with me? Like, what in the heck is going on? So it took a little bit of a tipping point for me. So the tipping point found its way to me in the form of an inversion ankle sprain. And the reason I say that is it's leading into the high school. So a patient of Austin. So if anybody knows Dr. Panner, he's been in the office the longest other than Brett. And he had treated a lot of people from Silex and Clopton and all these other schools up north. And so he just happened to be gone on a Friday that I was in the office. And one of his patients, who is a basketball player, she had a pretty nasty inversion ankle sprain on Thursday. So he wasn't in the office, and they were leaving on Monday for the Final Four in Springfield in basketball. So this is a big deal. First time in school history they made the Final Four. She's the best player on the team. Basically, all odds were stacked against me. And so here I am, not knowing, thinking I'm the best, or, I'm in my giant valley. I'm thinking I'm a piece of crap. I don't know how to do anything. What am I doing here? And so Jillian walks to the door on crutches, and she goes, I don't care what you're due to me. I don't care what you say. I'm going to play next week. It's my senior year. It's the Final Four. I have 2 games left. We either play or I'm playing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm going to boot, whatever you're saying. And so I said, okay, well, here we go, Taylor. This is your chance. You know what? See how good you really are, whatever. And this is not a gloating opportunity. So, however, so I said, you know what? Screw it. I'll see you every single day until you leave. So I saw her 4 straight days. We did everything you guys already know. We needled her. We did amazing DNS. I adjusted her ankle. I taped it. I saw her for an hour every single day leading up to this. Sure enough, she goes, she plays. She had pain, 100%. Had pain. She plays. They end up getting second. First time in school history they make it to the finals. It was just one of those things. But I remember at the end of that 3rd day, so it was the 4th day leading up, I couldn't wait to get to the office. I didn't care about the rest of the people on my schedule. I just wanted to see Jillian. I just was like, you know what? This is so exciting. What are the odds that she's actually going to play? If she went to orthopedist, they may boot her. They may give her an MRI. They may say, no, I don't know, no way. But to actually give someone the chance to do that was so fulfilling to me. It got me out of bed in the morning. It made me say, man, oh man, like that was fun. That was so much fun. I found myself that when she was playing, I was following on Twitter. I was texting the parents and asking them how she was doing. And that just fulfilled me. It made me feel so excited for her, for the opportunity to work with her, for all of the things that we really care about. And so that is the time that I was like, man, oh man, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. Maybe this is something that I could do. Okay, so that was the tipping point. That's what made me think. So what changed? If anybody knows my wife, I finally listened to my coach. So I have had someone in my life that had been telling me this from day one, that, hey, maybe you should take a little bit of time out of your day. Maybe you should think about who you want to treat. Maybe you should think about how you want to spend your days. Maybe you should think about how you want to spend your weekends. Maybe you should think about the next 5 years. Maybe you should think about the next 10 years. Maybe you should just kind of like take some time to think about all those things. And so my wife, right? She'd been saying that from day one. So if anybody knows my wife, she's the smartest person in my life. There's no question about it. She is this, that's what she does for a living. She's an expert when it comes to setting goals, to people making their business what they want it, to achieving the things that they don't think that they can. And so I was ignoring her because I thought, oh, come on, I know better than this. You know, what does she know? So I finally did. I finally took the time to listen to that beautiful woman of mine, and I took action. So I remember they got back. I treated her a couple more times. She still comes to see me. She's playing basketball at Quincy University right now. And she still comes back on the weekends to see me every once in a while. But I just remember that it was a Wednesday. I think it was a Wednesday. I sat down that night and I was just like, you know what? Something's got to change. I feel drained. I feel like I've been running in circles for the last 6 months. I feel like I really haven't done much with my schedule, with my career. I just don't feel like things are what they should be. I think that I need more out of this life than what I am. And so I took action. So I took the time. I opened a bottle of wine. I put on some deep house music, if you know me too, some Lane 8. I got in the zone and I just started writing. And I started writing, and this is my notebook that I take with me everywhere. And I got deep, man. I basically took the time. I wrote down my goals. What did I want out of this career? What do I want out of this time on the earth? What do I want at this time at Winchester Spine and Sport? What do I want out of my time every single day? What's my ideal day look like? What do I do every single day? What do I do on the weekends? What do my weeks look like? In 5 years, does that change? Maybe I'm still doing the same thing. What do all these things really look like? And finally, the last thing that I did was I came up with my ideal patient. And what I found myself doing was writing down everything that I did with Jillian. High school athlete, has been told they can't play because of a certain injury. They get hurt on a Monday and they have to play on a Friday. It's a football player, whatever it might be. Those are the patients that I see. Staying late after work to catch them after practice, getting there early in the morning to see them, seeing them before practice to make sure that they can practice, see them at games, being able to talk to them when they have a serious injury about what their next couple months looks like, how to pick a surgeon, what imaging to do, you just tore your ACL. Okay, well, what can we do to make you better? Those are the things that really those are things that kept me up at night, that jolted me out of bed in the morning. And so I just decided, you know what, screw it. I'm going for it. This is it. This is what it is. And so I went to Brett, and Brett's, he's my biggest mentor. He's my biggest cheerleader. And so I said, you know what, this is what I want. I want to go all in on high school and young athletes. And I want to see what I can do. And I know that there's some of you that maybe are thinking, well, why didn't, Brett's got all these connections with professional athletes and stuff like that. Why wouldn't you do that? Well, quite frankly, I've heard too many horror stories from Brett to even go down that route. But however, me personally, thought back to me as a high school athlete. I was a very average athlete. I mean, I was good enough to be on the field, but I didn't make the paper. I wasn't going to play in college. But I always thought, like, man, if I could have someone that would work with me, I wonder if I could get a little bit better. Or, that nagging back pain that I just always had. I wonder if I could have, intervened or made a difference, or, made my quality of sport a little bit better. And so that's really what my passions turned out to be. And that's what I did. So I went to Brad and I said, hey, this is what I want. And he said, well, listen, I mean, we have the contract at the high school. We're 100% paying this athletic trainer to be there. And so why don't you just go shadow him and see, what help he needs, or what types of things he could do. And I was hesitant again, those first 6 months, I'm like, well, but that would mean me leaving work. I'd have to take a couple hours out of my schedule. What if a new patient shows up at that time? All those types of things. And that's when I went back to my take action. And I said, you know what, screw it. If this is really something that I want to do, I don't want to see those walk-in patients anyways. I need to be where my patients are going to be. And so I finally did it. I called Brandon and I showed up and I started hanging out with him, and I got to know the coaches. I was frank with them and I asked them what their concerns were with doctors, with what the things their kids were struggling with, or what keeps them out of practice and games. And the number one thing I heard honestly was doctors wanting kids to not play. In other words, they really don't know what's going on with him, and so they just prescribe 3 to 4 weeks of rest. And so I said, okay, that sounds like a really good marketing point to me. So what did I do? I told every single coach there, I said, I'll do whatever I can to make sure that the kids can play. I'll, I'm their best chance at playing. I'm the one that's going to tell them they can do something rather than not. The kids that you think are faking it or whatever, they don't want to practice and stuff, I'll make them. And so I just decided that was going to be what I built my platform on, right? Just like I was running an election or anything like that. I said, I'm going to be the guy that tells people that they can. Yes, they can play on Friday. Yes, they can do these things, or anything like that. So that's kind of what my ideal patient was built around. So with that, I kind of made some non-negotiables, again, with the help of my coach, my wife. And so these are the things that I basically said yes to. So I, at one point, was doing all the social media for our office. I was, basically going out and about to everything possible. And so I just said I need to scale it down and do things that I can show up for every single time, and that I don't have to say no to. And so my decision fell on the chamber and the Rotary clubs. And so the chamber is once a month. I'm on the board, so it's actually twice a month. And then the Rotary Club is once a week, but it's over my lunch hour, and so I don't have to miss clinic time, and I don't have to miss school time for it. I decided on one day of social media, which I've been failing at lately, if you guys have been following us, which is Tuesdays with Taylor. And so I decided that every single week I was going to do one live video, which, if you know me, my gold medal in life is being in front of people and talking to people. And so I do one live video a week, talking about the different things that the parents of athletes may be dealing with, or things like that. But my goal is to talk to the parents, not the players. And I think that that's a really important thing when you're thinking about marketing, is you need to talk to the people that are making decisions in the household. So at first I was kind of talking to the players and talking in their lingo and stuff. And again, my wife corrected me. So then now I start talking to the parents. So what are they thinking about? They're thinking about financial decisions. They're thinking about whether or not their insurance is covering it. They're thinking about whether or not to take it to me or an orthopedist. Do they need imaging? Should they ice it? Should they give their kid ibuprofen? Should they do those things? And so that's what my talks are centered around, is talking to the parents about those things. And then I decided on weekly hours at Troy. And so I decided that being there consistently would give me the best chance at being in front of those kids, and then also catching those kind of catastrophic injuries and the things that they really need me for. And it also allowed me to gain the trust of the athletic trainer, Brandon. And so that's good. And then weekly hours at Silex. I have weekly here, but in reality, Silex was just twice a month. So I go there twice a month for a couple hours. And then I decided to challenge myself to go to one game per week, whether that's a football game, volleyball, softball. I just decided I was going to be at one game per week. And at least I'm there in front of the parents, because usually I don't get to see the parents in the training room. And then golf and tournaments that hopefully involve youth athletics or schools, or my patients. Like today, it was one of my patients who put together the tournament. So I said yes, 100%. And then I just decided to make a golden rule of going out of my way for the athletes, the ATC, the AD, and the coaches. And so whatever that might be, whether that's a kid that can't afford to come see me, I'll treat them for free, no questions asked. Whether that's treating the coaches and the athletic director at the school for free or at the office for free, whether that's answering questions about an injury or whether or not they should ice, or, hey, we've been having these injuries, should I change this up, doing that kind of stuff. And then the no's would be, I had to tell the clinic that I can't do the social media responsibility anymore, mainly out of just time, and my time is better spent other time. And then sacrificing in-clinic time for high-level marketing. In other words, I'm willing to go out of the office and to miss hours in the office to do things that really make a difference for my patients and my patient population. And then market opportunities that include all the other organizations or clubs. And so you're going to get pulled in 1,000 different directions and 1,000 different directions in multiple different ways, and people wanting your time and your energy and stuff. And so I just have to be able to say no. And posting on all the social media platforms. In other words, I decided I was going to post on my personal Instagram page, my Tuesdays with Taylor, which is a little bit more professional, and then on Facebook for again, those Tuesdays with Taylors. So those are kind of my non-negotiables, just my yeses and nos. And I think it's a really healthy thing to do, is to really be clear on the things that you're doing, because again, it's going to go back to how you're willing to spend your time in doing things that don't drain you to the point that, you know, after a month of grinding, you're worn out. You can't, you're not the same person. You're everything else decreases, whether that's relationships with your family or friends or your spouse or, you know, with patients and stuff like that. So those are my yeses and nos. And then once you are clear, every decision gets you closer or further away. So once you're clear on your yeses and nos, you either are making decisions to get you to the end goal or take you away from it. And that's really how you have to approach it. Because if you don't have those non-negotiables laid out, then in reality, you're kind of making like in-between decisions, and you may have regret and stuff like that. But I just know in my heart, I never have regret, because it's either going to be a yes or a no. There's really no in between. So I think that's a really healthy way to go about that. And then the last one, this is the biggest thing, and again, I started with that, is show up. So Carl Jung has this amazing quote: "You are what you do, not what you say you will do." And so it's my goal to be at every single high school, home football game. I had to miss today. I did it for you guys, but they were away, so it's okay. But being on the sidelines and showing up when I say I'm going to show up, and if a kid asks me to go to a game, I'm going to be there. And if they're selling something for school, I'm going to put my own money down and I'm going to order it, or whatever it might be. It's just like going out of your way to be the voice of reason and to show up, whether that's in person, or if you say you're going to call a parent, you call the parent, or whatever that might be. It's just to freaking show up. Like, if I can just tell you one piece of advice, whether that's marketing with high schools, it doesn't matter what you decide to treat. If you just show up, good things are going to happen in your life. And that's really a testament to who you are as a person, and really the things that you want to accomplish this life. So with that being said, my biggest advice, if you want to work with high school athletes or you want to work in a high school, is just to show up. Just contact the athletic director, contact the people that they're in charge or who are making the decisions, and just show up. Ask if you can have coffee. If they're going to be at the golf course, go to the golf course. If they eat at a certain place, go to that place and just be there. Just show up, make them see who you are, because at the end of the day, they're not going to make the decision based on how good you are. To be completely honest with you, they're going to make the decision based on someone that's going to show up consistently and is going to be a person that they can rely on. And that's not always the thing that I thought. And you as all of us are high achievers. You think that it's your skills and it's your abilities that are going to make you in these positions. But in reality, those are the things that give you staying power. But to show up and to actually be the person there, you just have to show up. You just have to be willing to go out of your way to call those people and to be there. And what I would say too is they're not lacking people to show up to games to work sidelines, to be completely honest with you. What they're lacking is people to be there during the week to answer the questions of kids that, get banged up during practice or whatever that might be. Those are the people that really need your help. Those are the times where you can really make an impact. And those are the times that you can actually feed people to your treatment room. Being on the sideline is great, but in reality, all you're going to see a lot of times is big catastrophic injuries that are going to get fished to the ortho anyways. And so it's great if you can be there to help them make those decisions, to keep them in your web. That's amazing. But to be there every single day, to catch that kid that sprains his ankle on a Monday that needs to play on a Friday, those are the times that you can make a difference. And those are the times that you can actually fill your schedule with high school patients. So that's my biggest advice there, is just show up. Be the person that's always there, and not be cocky. If there's an athletic trainer there, they're the people that know the kids. They're the people that are really tight with the coaches. So be an extension of them. Don't try to be the hero in the treatment room. If they ask for your opinion, that's great. Sometimes you have to step in and put your neck out there, but a lot of times it's just being there. having a second opinion, being willing to kind of let them, maybe some cases that you know you should help, but it's not the right time. Just having the social IQ to kind of sit back and let the trainer do its job and, eat some shit sandwiches, as Brett would say, and go about your day. So, but just being there is really, really important. And then the next thing is a quote that Brett always tells me, and we remind each other of quite a bit. And it's really, can you give your best performance on the biggest stage? So how I got in with Silex is that they had a similar situation, that they had a really senior heavy baseball team last year, and they were making a run, and it was the middle of the season, and they had a right-handed pitcher that he was really good. Didn't throw very fast, but he was pretty deceptive, and he was their starter. And just woke up one morning and couldn't throw a ball, just for whatever reason. And so I was lucky that he showed up in my treatment room that day, and his mom just happened to be a teacher at Silex that had worked there for 25 years and was really respected in the community. And I got lucky, and it was a big derangement. So a shoulder derangement. If you guys have treated one of these yet, you know the story. I extended his shoulder about 30 times. He could throw a baseball again. It was just one of those times in my career where God shined down on me and said, here you go, buddy. And that jolted my career in Silex. And so that preempted 3 or 4 more players to come in to see me that same year. The teacher, the mom, was in the ear of the superintendent, who I had already saw at the golf course multiple times, who I had a friendship with, who I knew personally. And he asked me if I would come up there. And so I didn't have to go out of my way to do that. And it just kind of happened for me, which again, it was a little bit of luck. But what I would argue is that I gave my best performance on the biggest stage. In other words, I didn't know it was going to be my best patient. I didn't know that patient was going to open so many doors for me, but approaching every single patient like it is. And I was lucky. I showed up that day. I gave a really good treatment. And so that opened so many doors for me. But again, can you give your best performance on the biggest stage, whether you know it's going to be the biggest stage or not? You don't always know that. Sometimes the best patient that you fail with is the one that sends you 25 people. In other words, the someone that you have to send to surgery is the person that sends you the most people or opens the most doors for you. And so I think just remembering this quote and approaching every single patient interaction and then personal interaction in the community like that, just showing up and being who you are, not someone that you're not, will open more doors than you'll ever realize. And so with that being said, those are the things that have really kind of gotten me to the point that I am and have gotten me to work with high school athletes. And so I know that there's got to be some questions and some other things that I didn't cover, and purposely so that it was a little bit more interactive, but I talked longer than I wanted to, of course. But anyway, thank you guys for letting me speak. And then do you have any questions specifically about high school athletes or treating or anything like that? Just pipe in. You don't have to wait.
I do have a question. Yeah. Do you ever see that like the parents get in the way of like what you want to treat the kid with? Like say they want to like maybe control their sports life a little more than you think it should be, or like the other way around. Do you ever see that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is Nick. Is that right? Is that your name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Nick. No, I think yes and no. Sometimes yes and sometimes no. I think the thing that really sets it off for me is that I never force anybody to do anything. In other words, like let's say I see someone at Silex on a Wednesday afternoon. I call them on my way home and I say, hey, your son or daughter has what this I think is going on. These are the things that I think would really help them. And I always just finish with, now I feel like I do an amazing job at this. This is kind of one of my specialties of treating these athletes and stuff. However, if you have someone that you are already seen or anything like that, you're more than welcome to do that. I just think that they should do these things. And I think approaching it in that manner of just giving them the option of going elsewhere and doing those things is actually a pretty healthy thing. Number one, because the parents don't feel like they're getting bait and switched. And then also just because they feel like they have control. And because at the end of the day, I think when decisions get a little bit mixed up, it's always a control issue. And so I just always give them the control. Now, granted, if I think that, it's gone on too long and they need to see me and I'm the best person for it, I'll be a little bit forceful. But yeah, I think 100% it does. But all you can do is really just tell them the best thing you think for them. And if they make a different decision, they make a different decision. I would just argue that those people are going to come back into your life, whether that's in the same place that you met them in the first place or later on because it didn't get better or something else came up or anything like that. So, but yeah, 100%.
Thank you.
I had one this morning. So I have a kid right now. He's playing right now. I haven't gotten a text yet, but he's separating his AC joint last Saturday. Had a little bit of stinger too. And so we've been treating the heck out of him this week and just didn't really feel great about it. Didn't really come around like I thought. So he was still in a little bit of pain. I gave him the option, basically I didn't think that he was going to hurt anything worse. If he could bear through it, he could do it. But I my 8 a.m. right when I got to the office, I had a conversation with the mom about wanting an MRI and wanting to see an orthopedist and wanting to do this and like being a little bit more forceful. But, so that's when I had to kind of step back and say, listen, these are the things that are happening. These are the things I know. These are the things we can do. These are the things going forward that we can. And so just laying it all out there and being really honest with them. And, she came around, we're going to get the MRI just in case we need to do an injection so that he can play pain free next week. But, anyway, so that was just a good example this morning. So. Cheers.
I got a quick question for you here, Taylor. What would be, say a student moves into a new community after they graduate or whatever, and they're looking to get into a high school or say it's a hockey organization or whatever it is. What's that first email look like? Are you walking into their office and talking to the head guy, or are you just shooting an email asking to meet up, or are you giving a full email saying, hey, I want to do this, this, and this to try and help? Like, how do you kind of start that connection if you go in not knowing anybody in that community?
Yeah, it's a great question, Grant. I think it's a phone call. I think a phone call is always best. The reason I say that is because they don't get a lot. Like ADs are not getting phone calls, no, really nobody usually has the balls to pick up a phone and call someone, especially in today's day and age. And so I think that if you're willing to do that, and I think you approach it in the manner of, hey, I'm Grant, I really love working with hockey players. I played hockey in the past, and I honestly, I just was curious about your organization. I just want to know more about what you guys do and just kind of what you're all about, whether that's, can I come by and hang out and just see how you guys are running your organization, or would you like to meet up for coffee? I'm just curious if there's any room for me to help or to be a part of it, whether that's a coach or a clinician or whatever it might be. I just honestly want to get to know you in the organization. So I think that's how you approach it, of not necessarily like, hey, I'm Grant, I'm this badass chiropractor. I've played hockey in the past. Like I do all this cool stuff. I need to see your people. I think I give you approach it of like, hey, I'm really interested in your organization. I've heard really good things about the kids that you whether that you're in hockey, kids you have, the kids you attract. I'm just curious to see if I can kind of get to know your organization a little bit better. And then I think once they get to know you and your personality, that's when you say, listen, I have plenty of time in the clinic right now. I would love to come hang out and just be a part of practice, whether that's, answering questions of parents if there's kids that are hurt, or just getting to know the parents or anything like that. And they may ask you to do a presentation or do something like that, and that could be your door open.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
TP, I got one for you.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of go about setting your role in that sports medicine team whenever you get out there? Like, I know that's a conversation between you and the athletic trainer, but what are the limitations that you're seeing at the high schools that you're heading out to?
That's a good question. I think Troy, for sure, like if you guys are going to a bigger community, Troy is the one that I can talk on a little bit more. But I think, Rob still on here? Like he's been in that situation before too, of, athletic trainers are overwhelmed, to be completely honest with you. If they're working at a high school, they have so many kids coming in and out, and they just don't have time. They don't have time to really they get time to get to know the kids, but to actually put their hands on them and to treat them, that's just it's just the reality. And so they may only have 2 or 3 minutes before practice where they have 20 kids in their treatment room, and they have to make split-second decisions on whether or not that kid should practice, whether they should tape them, whether they should, send them elsewhere and stuff like that. And so I think the limitation there is taking pressure off of them for kids that they maybe don't really, maybe they're unsure of the diagnosis, or maybe they're unsure of the trajectory of the case, or maybe they're unsure of what the heck to do with them. I think that's where we really play in. And then the other thing that I've really done that I haven't really pointed out is, so in Missouri, we have primary access, and so I can get imaging on the spot. In other words, I can save parents a buttload of money if they come get a script from me and go get imaging. Whereas if they just went to the emergency room, they may have to pay an emergency room visit. They may have to wait a week to get in their primary care physician and then get imaging. And so that's one of the spaces that I've really kind of marked out at Troy is like, hey, if you think a kid needs imaging, I'll trust you. They just need to come into the office. I won't charge them an office visit. Let me just double check your work and we'll get them imaging, and then you and I can kind of quarterback that. And so I think including the trainer in as an important piece of the clinical aspect of it has been really good for me, of like making Brandon know, like, and he is a great trainer. He really is. And, but making him understand that like, he's really, really important in this. His decisions are important and his opinions are important. And so if I can aid him and take some pressure off of him, whether that be some of the more high risk kids or kids that just don't really make sense of the clinical picture, or maybe the parents are a little bit rougher, to Nick's question earlier, can't afford it or can't do things like that, then, I can kind of step in and take the pressure off of those things. So that's the thing that I would say is like approaching in the manner of like, hey, if you think a kid broke his arm, by all means, use me to get an x-ray of that kid. And, just yesterday, like Brandon was at the softball game, girl was backtracking in the outfield to catch a softball, and basically non-contact ACL. And he said, anterior drawer is positive, like swelling, basically everything points to, I think she ruptured ACL. So she came in last night, 7:30. I gave her a little exam. Sure enough, I agreed, sent the MRI. Yep, torn ACL, medial meniscus, impaction fracture, like you name it. And so we were able to get her in with her surgeon Monday. And so she's already has an appointment that fast. So just to give you an example of like, those are some examples that you can use of like, if you have the right people in your network, you can get these kids the best care possible immediately, so that they're not waiting around, the parents making decisions and not knowing what to do. You can be those people.
A quick follow-up to that. So is the time that you're heading out to the school and kind of hanging out in the athletic training room, is that still more volunteer, or do you have a deal with the district where you're getting paid for that time?
So at Troy, it's 100% volunteer. So yeah, 100% volunteer. At Silex, I get they pay me a little bit of their athletic training budget, mainly for gas and a little bit of supplies. Nothing significant, but yes, 100% volunteer. And so, and the reason that I did that too, and the reason I think that that's a good strategy is that, number one, they understand that you are ultimately feeding your office. In other words, there's a pretty good understanding there that you're going to probably send people to your own office. You're probably going to go out of your way to get patients there. And that way that you're not trapped into, well, why didn't you just treat them at the school? Or why didn't you do all this? And so, like, for example, while I'm at Troy, I don't dry needle. I don't do instrument-assisted soft tissue. I don't adjust. I basically just do a little bit of like some fake ART or some soft tissue. I do a little bit of MDT and just mainly assessment. And so that puts a pretty good divider in the line as far as, hey, I think your kid needs dry needling. However, I'm not paid through the school district. I don't have malpractice insurance up there. I can't dry needle your son up there. So I need to see him in the office. So I think that that's kind of an important divider, because sometimes the waters can get a little bit muddied in there as far as, what you can and can't do. And so I just kind of have those boundaries set up and everybody knows them. So, but yeah, it's 100% volunteer. Now, some districts have a ton of money they're willing to pay. But again, I would urge you to be careful in your negotiations to not price yourself out of working with them. Because at the end of the day, again, they want people to show up and they want people that are willing to put the time in. And so I think being that person is kind of an important thing.
If anybody has any last questions for Taylor, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. Well, if there's no further questions, thank you, Taylor. We appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge. We definitely like learning how to not suck as much from your mistakes. So we definitely appreciate that and appreciate your time. So thank you for coming out and sharing that with us. We would definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking me, guys. And I'm an open book too. And every single one of you are more than welcome to come shadow me. And you're more than welcome to go to the high schools with me as well. So if you think that you may be interested in this or anything like that, just reach out to me. We can set up a time, and you're absolutely 100% more than welcome to go with me to kind of see how it all works. It's definitely a fluid thing. It's not perfect. This is my first full year with Troy as far as having really good buy-in with the coaches and the administration and stuff. And so it's being a little bit more clear, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more of a systematic approach to doing it in the future. But all in all, it's really gasses me up, and the treating this population is something that you can all get excited for, and it's really fun because I think you can have a much bigger influence on the world and on these kids rather than treating a professional athlete or anything like that, because these ones are the more receptive. And if you could take a kid that maybe would miss significant time because of an injury and allow him to play his senior year and get a scholarship, and those are the things that get you excited. So as flashy as it is to treat professional athletes, there's more financial gain with high school athletes, and there's definitely more internal gain for these types of kids. So like tomorrow I have a kid that I'm really excited to start treating. He's adopted. He's been bounced around to foster kids. He's never had treatment, suffered from a lot, but he's got really good potential. And so for me, I'm excited. So I'm just treating him for free tomorrow. I'm seeing him every single Saturday. And so I'm excited to be able to kind of give back to that. And I think those are the things that you guys could all take away, and being able to kind of be a part of these kids' lives in really important times. So, but anyway, with that, I could talk for hours on that, but cheers everyone. Thank you again to Logan MPI. You guys are absolute studs. And so, like I said, my cell number, I'll put it in the chat. That's honestly like the easiest way to get a hold of me. Where's my chat? Jeez, I look like an old man over here. I don't know where my freaking chat is. There it is. And most of the NPR apps have my number, but that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. If you guys have anything, that'd be great. So.
Thank you for coming
Awesome.
out.
Thanks,
we
Taylor.
appreciate it.
Sweet, thank you.
Tune
Thank
in
you.
to MPI Club. When do you guys meet? When are you doing your Zooms?
Tuesday, Thursdays, 11:30 a.m.
Hammer it. Don't not show up. That's the backbone of my entire career, and I'll say everything to them. So, Jacob, who's the little guy?
Great.
Great to meet you, brother.
Him? That's Drake. He's getting ready to go to bed.
Rock and roll, man. Sleep well.
Yeah. What was he saying?
He told me to rock and roll.
All right, have a good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.
See you guys.
Thank you.